Welcome to Why is my avoidant partner so defensive? Defensiveness kills relationships, not in a dramatic overnight way, but slowly, painfully, like emotional erosion. According to marriage researchers John and Julie Gottman, defensiveness is one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, the 4 communication habits that predict breakups and divorce with high, scary accuracy. And guess what? When you're anxiously attached, you might be unknowingly triggering it in your partner. Yes, your survival patterns like criticism and panic whenever you want closeness can activate their wounds. And boom, this cycle begins again. Let's unpack why this happens and how to protect your energy while creating a safer space for connection for the two of you. And in the end, I'll share my summary and quick action steps so you can take action and create results today. Let's go. By the way, hi, I'm Jula. I'm the Anxious to Secure coach, and welcome to the Anxious to Secure podcast. Disclaimer, I'm not a therapist or doctor. This content is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It's not intended to diagnose, treat, or heal any mental health condition. If you're in an abusive relationship or dealing with severe mental health challenges, always seek professional advice. A few years ago, I was living in a tiny flat in London with my avoidant attached partner. We shared a room in a flat share, and it was an emotional whiplash every week, every time. The same pattern was happening all over again. One of us would blow up, the other one would get defensive, and I would just feel very helpless, frustrated, anxious, insecure, all of the things. I would feel he's going to abandon me, he's going to leave me, what did I do wrong? And he would be withdrawing, shutting down, probably feeling attacked but not saying anything. And I was feeling extremely lonely and feeling like there was something wrong in our relationship and I didn't know how to fix it. And the more I was trying to fix it, the more I was making it worse. Until I learned about attachment styles, the Gottman method, and how my words was actually triggering his wounds, his core wounds. Even I thought I was just being honest or direct and assertive. So what is defensiveness actually? Defensiveness both is an emotion and a reaction. So it happens when someone feels blamed or criticized or feeling like they're failing in your eyes. They're feeling they're under attack. So it sounds often like, yeah, but you always. That sounds fair. I only did it because you did this thing. Can you finally do X, Y, and Z? Well, maybe if you weren't so I wouldn't be X, Y, and Z. It's not just about being difficult, it's a defensive shield. And most people, especially avoidant attached people, partners, learned to use it as a shield long term against feeling attacked to survive in relationships. But long term, it will create disconnection more and more, avoid dealing with the problem, and it will kill your relationship. But we need to understand that they're not trying to hurt you. They might be trying to protect an old wound, an old fear, which they wouldn't know how to talk about it. They wouldn't even know that this is there. And they're even so unconscious about this pattern because they've been doing this all their life. It's like when we use criticism as our survival method and strategy, we often are unaware of that we are even doing this, right? So let's zoom out for a second. What does defensiveness actually looks like in real life, not just in theory, but in text, conversations, or conflict that leave you feeling crazy, frustrated, and helpless. So some of the defensive moves might look like shifting blame, denying they did anything wrong, playing the victim, going silent or emotionally withdrawing, pointing the fingers of, oh yeah, but you did this last week. Or you're always on my back. Why are you making such a big deal out of this? Sounds familiar? For avoidant attached partners, this goes deeper. So they grew up learning that emotions equals danger. So your words basically trigger their alarm system. It's code red even when you're calm. They might not hear your need for connection, your underlying need. They might hear instead you say, you're failing, you're not good enough, you're a terrible partner or lover or father. You're being trapped. I will trap you in this. I will hold you hostage. And then, of course, their wall goes up all the way. Okay, let's talk about research. Let's talk about the Gottman method and the Gottman Institute. So Dr. John Gottman, the king of relationship research, found that there are 4 behaviors that predict a breakup of about 90% accuracy. This is huge. He called them the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Dramatic name, but it's very accurate. First is criticism, something anxious attachment style used to do to protect themselves because they haven't really learned to express themselves properly. And that sounds like attacking your partner's character by saying, you're so selfish, can you just do this once right? You have forgotten to empty the bins again. Second, defensiveness, the thing that an avoidant attached person often does, like blaming or making excuses like, well, you didn't know either, right? Why didn't you just do this? Well, 2 weeks ago, you also did the same thing to me. It's not my fault. Counterattacking, you could have done this better. You didn't tell me either. Or it's not my fault. Come on, give me a break. Like, I'm always doing everything wrong. Yeah, right. And the third one is one of the biggest horsemen, is contempt, like sarcasm, eye-rolling, and superiority, thinking you are better than your partner. It's like, oh wow, you remembered something for once, rolling the eyes, something I'm actually guilty of. I used to roll my eyes quite often, but I didn't even notice this. So some of these patterns can be very deeply ingrained. And the fourth one is stonewalling, something I've noticed that an anxious attachment and even avoidant attachment does quite on occasion when they're feeling triggered and when there's no other way out, especially like freezing, shutting down internally, like shutting down or like a silent treatment. Although silent treatment is more you're doing it on purpose to punish someone, stonewalling is more you're so feeling so overwhelmed you're unable to say anything or to move at all. That is like more like an emotional check out of the conversation, even though you might want to say something, but maybe you're so overwhelmed, your nervous system is frozen that you're unable to say anything. Which one kicks off the most for you? Usually criticism is the one which anxious attachment, like I used to do, or my clients often do, is the ones that triggering the defensiveness in our partner. And that's very important to realize because that's the only thing we can control. We can't control if our partner is avoidant attached. We can't control how they respond, but we can control what we are doing in the situation wrong. And why are we doing this? Because we are scared. We are craving connection, but it lands as an attack. So they then defend. And the cycle continues, right? And often anxious partners often criticize without meaning to. Why? Because we are scared. We want connection. We are fighting closeness all the time. But saying you never care, you're emotionally unavailable, puts your partner in fight and flight too. However, it's often actually easier to say you never care instead of being vulnerable as well and saying, I feel disconnected. I feel alone. This involves you being vulnerable and letting down your guard too. Meaning, deep down, you might have a fear of being vulnerable and connection and being open too. So how do we break through this? So when your partner's defensive, so instead of saying, why are you always so defensive? You're impossible to talk to. You're always downplaying everything. You could say, I notice this feels a little bit tough between us. I want to talk through this together. Can we slow down for a moment and talk through this? This shows you're taking responsibility for holding space, not adding fuel to the fire. It invites safety and calmness instead of attacking your partner again. And even more, the secret is here taking accountability for your part in this. What is something you have noticed about yourself that you did wrong? Maybe that triggered your partner's defensive system. Maybe you raised your voice. Maybe you used you language, like blame language. Maybe you didn't approach it in the right moment. And if you're not sure, simply ask your partner. It's like, hey, I noticed I might have, triggered something in you. Did I say the wrong thing? Did I bring up a tricky subject you don't want to talk about? Because when I use this with my partner, partner, we started to get a little bit into a fight once. And before we did, I realized, hey, you know what? My partner's shutting down. They're getting very defensive right now. What's going on? And when I took accountability and asked, did I do something wrong? Is it the wrong subject, or is it the wrong time to talk about this? And then he actually admitted, I don't want to talk about this subject. It's very irritating for him. And I knew at least what the trigger was. So from this on, I realized this certain subject I'm not going to bring up when there's a bit of tension anyway, or when he's stressed and coming right from work, and I can approach it better. And now let's talk about the soft startup, a method developed by the Gottmans. That's what the Gottman has found out in their research. And for an anxious attachment nervous system, we often start in fight mode, even without realizing it. The Gottman found that conversation with a harsh startup, like blaming, accusation, or loaded with criticism, almost always end up very badly. But soft startups, they give your partner a chance to hear you, not defend against you. So a soft startup might sound like a calm tone, I language, statements like I feel instead of you always, clear feelings and needs being shared, no blaming or shaming. So instead of you never listen to me, I'm always the one doing everything alone in our relationship, try I've been feeling a little bit lonely lately and I would love some time together if you're open for it. This is the classic formula. When, and then insert a specific trigger. I feel, insert a specific emotion, and what I really need is this thing. Insert your core need, the underlying need, and you can paint a specific picture of how this looks like. For example, when you left without saying goodbye this morning, I felt a little hurt and disconnected. I know it might sound small, but I really value little moments of connection. It helps me to feel close to you. However, my personal twist on this formula is a little bit different because, first of all, living with an avoidant attached partner who takes everything so easily as an attack needed another layer to soften this startup. So I teach not just I language, but we language. This means you're more on a team with your partner. Can we do this? It feels lighter, more equal, and avoids the blame. Instead of saying, I feel sad when you don't do the kitchen, I would recommend saying, can we make sure the kitchen is done before we go to bed? One is very emotionally heavy. The other one focuses more on the task itself. No drama, no over-explaining, just team energy. And if I sense he assumes that I should do it instead of him, I will gently add like, you do the washing up and I do the hoovering. Does it sound fair? And here's another magic thing to add. Instead of focusing on the negative emotion, like I feel sad when this thing isn't done, or I feel disconnected, I feel lonely, try using a positive emotion in air quotes, so more comfortable emotion. This is a real game changer because using so many negative or uncomfortable emotions adds like a very heavy, sad layer into everything. But if you use the positive emotions the way you want to feel when the thing is done, this creates a whole different vibe and energy. Instead of saying, I feel sad when something isn't working out, say, I feel so supported when you do the kitchen duties without me saying anything. This has worked extremely well for my relationship. This gives him something to feel good about too. It's not about just you, it's about him, the entire vibe and energy in your relationship. This is really raising the energy and the vibration in your relationship. It reinforces what's working and not what's missing. And something I want to point out as well, to be clear, you are not in charge of how they respond. You are only responsible for how you show up in your relationship. If they get defensive, that's their work. But you're allowed to express your needs with kindness without tiptoeing. You have the power to change the way you show up in your relationship. If you become the best version of yourself and stop nitpicking and criticizing your partner over and over again for the same things, you are part of this. You're using one of these 4 horsemen at least. Another tool you can use is being vulnerable Vulnerability is a powerful tool. You could say, here's what makes me feel safe with you. This is being vulnerable. You're not saying you suck or you're doing this wrong or what's wrong with you. You're saying, here's what makes me feel safe with you. Here's what I love and makes me feel supported and seen. And this is gold. If they're emotionally mature enough to receive it, it literally takes away their wall, because how can they be defensive when you're so vulnerable with them? And by the way, if their wall doesn't come down, it's time to take a step back and pause this conversation, because boundaries are also important here. Because if they constantly dismiss you, that's not love, that's avoidance. Long term, you need more and you deserve more. Let's talk about creating a culture of appreciation in your relationship. That has been very helpful for me as well. Avoidant people feel often under attack, they're appreciated, or like they've never been enough, or there's something really flawed or wrong with them. So if you always use critical language, if you're very hypercritical of your partner, they will shut down. So switch up and use, I appreciate how you helped me today. I really loved it when you took charge of this week's schedule. Can we figure this out together? Babe, can you do this? Or simply like, oh, thank you so much for opening this can. You're so strong. You make me feel so safe. You're creating a safe culture where they don't feel like they're failing all the time, where they feel seen and safe and appreciated, and not there's something wrong with them. The more positivity you can bring into the relationship, the more you will feel positive and calm. What you focus on will expand. You have to realize the first shift starts with you. Don't wait for your partner to change. And if they won't follow suit, you know what to do. And if you're someone who likes to take action because actions create results, let's go. Here's your weekly action plan you can apply this week directly. First, notice your startup energy. So pause before you speak. Ask, am I blaming, being very critical, or am I making assumptions? If you come off with being very anxious or having a harsh tone, your partner will shut down and will only become defensive. 2, try to use the we reframe. Instead of saying, I feel sad when you do this, or you never do this, say, can we make sure the kitchen is done before bed? Can we do this together? Can we make sure the laundry is picked up from the floor before we go to work? And you can be more specific by saying, can you do this thing while I do this thing? 3, use positive reinforcement. Flip the script from I feel upset when this isn't done, I feel really disappointed. Say, I feel so supported when you do this without me asking. I feel so loved when you give me compliments. I feel so connected when you ask me about my day. And 4, keep it short and be calm. No lectures, no overthinking, no being hypercritical. Clear, simple statements of what you need. Can you get the groceries this week? Can you pick up Lena from school tomorrow? 5, if they get defensive, try one of these things. You've got option number 1. Take a little bit of responsibility. Check out if it was the topic that was triggering, your approach, the way you said it, the words, and what part of the conversation was triggering for your partner, even if it was just 5% of it. This disarms everything without you over-apologizing. Or option 2, be vulnerable. I know I get sensitive around this. It's not about you doing something wrong. It just makes me feel a little bit unseen. When you let your guard down, your partner can let your guard down too. You're naming your real need, not blaming them. And that's super powerful. So hopefully this episode was a reminder of it's important really what you say and how you say it, and that even though your partner might be the one who's defensive, you also have a huge responsibility to take in this conversation and how you start the conversation. When you are anxiously attached, you might come in hot without meaning to, but there's a better way, one that actually gets you hurt completely. So if you're stuck in the anxious avoidance cycle and you're ready to stop the overthinking spiral and feel secure, I've got you. Grab my free cheat sheets, worksheets, journaling prompts, guides in the free attachment library with lots of free things. Plus, there's also a section where you can access my shop and find my text anxiety course, for example, how to stop obsessing over your partner's text 21 days or less, which is on sale. Or check out, if you're interested in my one-on-one coaching, you can book a call with me and check if you're the right person for this container. I have a 4-month or an 8-month coaching container where I can help you heal your anxious attachment style by you taking responsibility for your own patterns, not blaming your partner, and I can help you, guide you through this in bi-weekly one-on-one calls. I hope you love this episode. Like and subscribe if you want, and if you're on Apple or Spotify, give me a 5-star rating. When you're clicking on my profile, you can see the 5-star. If you click on my profile, you see the 5 stars. You click on it and then just rate it. And this means so much because it helps me to boost my podcast higher in the rankings and means the world. And it just takes a few seconds. It's literally like a virtual high five. Thank you so much. Remember, change in the relationship starts with you. Thought by thought, action by action, and now episode by episode. See you in the next one. Lots of love. Jula. Bye bye.